brought to you by bookmakers.com.
Evening, everyone. Welcome to Premier League Forecast. It's me, Chris Brack. It's him, Kev O'Sullivan. It's him, Luke Tanner. And we've got Jack from Talking Ballacks, which I was determined not to get wrong. I was trying my hardest because you knew it was going to happen at some point. We, of course, are sponsored by bookmakers.com. Details are in the description below. We'll say a bit more about bookmakers.com a bit later. Gents, how are we all?
Not
Good,
too
good.
bad. Yeah, good. Thanks, mate.
Looking forward to the weekend,
Oh,
he
good.
says.
I am.
Great team.
Sort of.
Yeah, me too. I'm not on full-time Reds. So I don't. So whatever happens, I can't get shouted at this week, so I don't care. I'm all right. Right. So, shall we start with a nice, easy game? Let's start with Leicester versus Brighton, because Jack has a lot to say, and from what I've heard pre-show, it sounds like it's going to be quite a lot. So, Jack, you have the floor. I believe you want to have a little conversation about a Mr. Rodgers.
First of all, chaps, I'll say thank you so much for having me back on. Obviously, love coming on. It's a really, really good show, so thank you very much. I've got to humble myself a little bit as well, actually, because last time I was on in, I think it's back in August, I said a few things, and I've got them written down here just for a case, for a reference point. I went back and watched the show this week, and I said very, very strongly, Rodgers will be sacked if we're staring down the barrel of relegation. And as we are 2 points above bottom spot, he is still in the job. So it's clearly wrong about that. I feel like there's some. And I also said that this squad was too good to finish 14th or 15th, which at this rate, I'd be happy to finish 14th or 15th. I'll be perfectly honest with you. It's difficult this season so far. It's been a really, really sort of challenging campaign. And genuinely, there's a number of things that I think we have an issue with, and as the season's kind of gone on, it's become more sort of apparent that this is quite a deep-rooted problem at the club. And whether it's all of these things or whether it's one of these things, I couldn't tell you 100% what it is. First of all, if we start on the obvious, the one we all want to hear about, as I'm on a Liverpool show, I'll start with Brendan Rodgers. Brendan, I said this on our show on Monday when I sat down with Euan, and I said that Brendan Rodgers' problem is that he's got one person in his fan club, and it's him. Brendan Rodgers loves Brendan Rodgers, and he will find a way to dig himself out of every and any corner that he's put into. Literally all season in the summer, it kind of starts with when we lost to Forest in the cup last year, and we got really, really well beaten there. I'll be honest. And he started coming out saying a lot of this team's not good enough. We need to have a refresh, and he's digging out the players first of all, which I think is kind of not the best thing to do as a manager, because if you don't have a group of players with the right mentality, it goes the other way. Some managers will say that, and it'll motivate their players. I think with Rodgers, I think everyone knows he's trying to protect himself, so it probably went the other way. And from then, there was a lot of that kind of repeat of, we need investment, we need new players, that will freshen up the squad. And then in the summer, that didn't happen. We sold Fofana and then brought in Faz, who, that's the only signing that's been made. And really, there's a big question of whether we've got money or not. And based on the fact we've just taken out another loan with a bank from Australia, basing that on the strength of the TV money for the next couple of years, suggests that actually we don't have that much money. And that's a real concern, because it's very, very if I mirror it to anything, it's like Leeds in the early noughties when they took out all that. They took out those loans and they spent really big chasing the Champions League dream when there was no guarantee that they would get that. And we all know how that turned out. So staying up this season is becoming more and more and more important, I think. I don't know how it looks to you guys on the outside, but from the inside, I think the problem does run a lot deeper than just Brendan Rodgers. In the summer, I'd have said he was the main problem. Now I'm kind of like, I still don't know. I think he probably should go, because even with the squad we've got, the performances we're putting in are just unacceptable. And it's, so if I just run off some stats, we've had 12 defeats in 19 games, 0 points picked up from losing positions, and we've only won this season if the other team has not scored. So basically, we are soft.
And you also managed to score 3 goals in one game and not win, which is also quite an impressive achievement.
I say we won that game 3-0. I say we won that game 3-0. In my mind, that's how it happened.
Listen, it felt like, I'll be honest, we did the post speaker. It felt like we got beat 3-0. It was a weird game where it felt like both teams lost because we were fucking shite.
You were there for the taking. It really was a frustrating game, because I thought
story of the season, that.
Yeah, and it's the thing, like, you have to take those opportunities, especially when you're in the mire like we are. Like, you can't give anybody any space, and that's the problem with this team at the moment. Is, I said it again on our show the other day, that this team bottled it. They couldn't motivate themselves to finish in the top 4 2 seasons in a row. Do I have faith that they'll have the mentality and the motivation to give? If you can't compete at the top of the league, do I believe that this squad is strong enough mentally to compete at the bottom of the league? I'll be honest, no, I don't. And I think that mentality starts at the top and filters down, doesn't it? So if Rodgers is digging out his players all the time rather than kind of looking inwardly, it's gonna have an effect on them. It's gonna make them like it wouldn't motivate me if my manager was telling, like, in any walk of life, if my manager was constantly telling me how shit I was, it wouldn't motivate me. It'd make me go, fucking hell, why do I want to work for him? Like, it wouldn't be a conducive environment to work in.
Yeah.
So,
Kev, I mean, from the outside looking in, look, we've had Rodgers as a manager. For me, at times he did all right for Liverpool, but I always felt it was a job too early for him. And we all know, Kev, that when things are going wrong, we all like manage to be proactive, but I think he's overly changes things when you don't need it. But from the outside looking in, I think you and me were talking about, it's probably about 18 months ago, saying when you looked at Leicester, you went, it just looks a bit stale. It just looked. The one thing Leicester used to do was they would always sell a big boy, a Kante, Drinkwater at the time, as a Premier League winner, or a Mahrez, and they'd reinvest it to balance the books with the next up and comer for that position. You sort of go, oh yeah, I can see that. I don't feel Leicester have done much. I mean, Daka looked at the time like a smart signing because quite a few clubs sniffing around him, but he just looked off it completely.
There was a couple of those signings that just haven't worked out. Mendy's another one. Samari. They were expensive gambles in the hope that they would become the next 55, 60 million pound player. And when you look at the price tag that they moved for now, you're looking at it, that's all of their money plus VAT. You know what I mean? And Leicester, you got to look at it with what they achieved under Brendan for those few years, pushing the top 4, getting into Europe. They overachieved, and the wage bill that they accumulated in overachieving by not selling when they should have sold, by not being like Southampton set the mold for this. You bring players through, you sell them on, you reinvest, you bring players through, you sell them on. Leicester stopped doing that. Yeah, Leicester stopped the selling on part, got really successful, got into Europe, and forgot to go back to the selling part again. You can't have players like Maddison and what's his name, Yuri Tillemans, running down your contracts at a club like Leicester. You can't allow that to happen. It's bad enough at Liverpool with Naby and Ox, but at least Liverpool are a big enough club financially to be able to absorb that kind of hit and say, okay, look, we bought Naby Keita for £48 million. We've got this much out of him. He's been here for that long, and he's going to leave for nothing. And just almost like chalk down to experience. Leicester does that with a talent like Maddison, for example, who's got what's he got, Jack? A year, 18 months left in his contract? Something like that?
18 months. Next summer, he's out 2024.
He's got all the power now This is I suppose the summer was the last opportunity where Leicester had power in this discussion. Now the player can really turn around and dictate where he wants to go. And once that's dictated to, the buying club dictates the price, not the selling club. And I mean, I don't know how badly you've been hit by injuries, but it seems like
badly.
if you had no luck at all, it would be bad. You know, there's too many players that you'd look at our first 11 for maybe first change that are missing, and knock that on with 2 really good hard seasons and minutes in their legs. It's gonna take a toll. And we said earlier on, I think it was probably around September, October, when we could see the writing on the wall with Brendan. We could see what was happening. And we all said, he's got to go, but can they afford to fire him?
I think
he's on a huge contract.
20 million, I think. That's how much he's going to get paid if he gets sacked.
I made a really strong statement the other day where I said, like, this Top and Vichai, like, God rest his soul, like, Top and Vichai have been incredible for us. And, like, but ultimately in 2023, if you can't afford to even sack your manager, there's something wrong. And I know that they obviously run a duty-free business, and you look at any financial
business.
You look at any financial like statistic, like the tourism business was completely decimated by COVID. So I can kind of understand him not investing a lot of his money into the club. But the problem is, like Steve says on in the chat, like when you have that policy of buy cheap, develop, like sell high, if you don't then do that, because that's what your whole financial model relies on, you're not going to be successful with it. Leicester can't afford that. They've never been a club and never will be a club that can afford to go, right, here's 150, 200 million pound in a window and not recoup anything back, especially with the bloated, overpriced contracts that we've been dishing out to players, which John Rudkin, our director of football, has to take massive responsibility for. There's no way players like Yannick Vestergaard and Ryan Bertrand should be on 70,000 and 90,000 pound respectively. Ryan Bertrand's played like 5 games for us. It's absolutely scandalous. It's daylight robbery, honestly. And I think, again, it links back to what I said earlier about there's not one place you can lay the blame for the problems at the moment.
Because something, Luke, also has to be a little bit of element of bad luck as well, because we could all admit, like I admit it, when I saw you'd sign Bertrand and I saw you sign Sumari, I thought, oh, smart business. You know, Bertrand's a established left back, actually left back covered, because we knew Pereira was coming back from a couple of serious injuries. So he thought that's smart cover, and Sumari was a highly touted young midfielder. He thought, well, that's Leicester going back to the model they always go for, which is players ready to kick on. Unfortunately for Leicester, they haven't. Now, some of that is down to the training and the coaching of the manager, possibly. But there is also sometimes an element of, and people don't want to hear it, right player, wrong time. It does sometimes just fall that way. It feels a bit with Leicester, Luke, a bit of a perfect storm.
Yeah, I think so.
I know Jack will feel the term, so, but you know what I mean? It's all, everything that could go wrong sort of hit at the same time.
Everything was going wrong all at the same time. And I think the summer, was it like 25 million for Yuri Tielemans? I think Arsenal was sniffing around. I think a lot of players that wanted to go, probably asked to go, and Leicester have gone, well, if they don't match our valuation, then there's no way you're going. I think Yuri Tielemans was priced at about 50 million or something like that. James Maddison was linked elsewhere, 60 million. And I think Leicester outpriced the players to get rid of them. And now, after what Rodgers said in the Nottingham Forest game, it's like, yeah, we need an overhaul. Like, players need to go. Now it's first day of pre-season, and he's seeing all the players that he's probably called out in training sessions show up to training. And he's probably gone, oh, great. And then Kasper Schmeichel leaving as well. Obviously, that would have been a massive thing, even though that he dropped off as a keeper. But the drop-off from an aging Kasper Schmeichel to Danny Ward is crazy.
I mean, a lot of us in the summer...
Kelleher for like 25 million.
No, absolutely not. No. I mean, Kelleher's not a bad goalkeeper, but absolutely not. Like the thing we were crying out for in the summer was we've got Daniel Everson, who has been on loan at Preston like the last couple of seasons, and he's regularly been like touted as one of the best young up and coming keepers. He's Danish, like he's now a full Danish international. He's the understudy to Kasper Schmeichel, and everyone was like, let's give him a chance. Danny Ward's played before, but he's not a good enough Premier League goalkeeper. Give it to the young guy, and if it doesn't work out, then give Ward the shot. But instead he went, we'll go with Ward. And to be fair to Ward, he's not good enough, but I don't think he's the reason we've been so bad defensively. I don't. He's made some incredible saves, actually. He's made some howlers and all, granted, but like he has made some fantastic saves. And it's just, how do you replace the best goalkeeper you've ever had? You can't, can you? Let's be honest.
Yeah. So to make life easy for you, we're going to go to Brighton.
Yeah, please.
Who are like sixth in the forms. And listen, it's not even mocking. They tore us apart. And it's not, and to be honest, Brighton have done that to a lot of clubs, But I mean, their form for Brighton is similar, is identical to Liverpool's. 4 wins, 2 losses in the last 6 games. But Kev, Brighton just got the tails are up. They're just a really difficult side. Brighton actually have basically become the Leicester Southampton model, because Southampton used to do this model first, moved away from it. I mean, Southampton got themselves relegated and are starting to do that model again now. Brighton have just done that Southampton model, but they've just took it up a level.
Yeah, Brighton are really. I mean, look, we all saw what Brighton can do last week, but Brighton have been doing this consistently for a while. I think you got to look at it from Brighton's point of view. They have to back it up now. It's all well and good getting 3 points at home against Liverpool and looking that good and getting all the plaudits and the flowers and what have you. Leicester are on a run of 4 consecutive losses, and you have to go there and turn the screw. And if you have ambitions of getting into Europe, these are the type of games you have to be going to win. And look, the confidence is oozing out of Brighton at the minute. And if they turn up with the same appetite at Leicester as they showed against us, then it's going to be very painful afternoon for the Leicester City fans. And it doesn't matter what Leicester turn up. It doesn't matter how good Leicester are on the day. Brighton are better, man for man, and tactically, De Zerbi has kicked on from Potter. He's taken that Potter style of football and added goals. I've always said Brighton are a very good side, and if they could find a striker, they'd be unreal. They've found a way of scoring goals. That makes them one of the best sides in the country to watch. And I wouldn't be surprised if they knocked four or more past Leicester, or even away from home. I don't think they care. I honestly look at this Brighton side now.
We do want Jack to come back on the show at some point.
But I think Jack could acknowledge this.
I'll be back.
It doesn't matter what Leicester put up at the minute. I watched the Leicester game against Newcastle, and I watched how they folded. They're mentally weak. They're mentally fragile, and you give them an excuse to quit, and they'll quit.
Yeah, we're missing the tangibles. That's the one thing about us at the moment is, like you said, any Brighton team that turns up, like Newcastle, the game was done within half an hour. The game on Boxing Day, like it was appalling. It's one of the worst performances I've seen, because all that intangible stuff that you need, like the kind of the stuff that you can't really measure. That's what Leicester are missing: the heart, the work rate, the ethic, the ability to not stop working. Or Brighton have got that in abundance. You watch Brighton; they're relentless, and even at 50%, they will like Kev says, they tactically the man for man, they will win the battles unless Leicester are at 110%. They have to be, and it's the only way we'll kind of get a result. Kev's absolutely right in what he's saying.
Yeah, the frustration was, Kev, we were talking about before we came back from the World Cup. Leicester actually, for the last, I think it was 6 to 10 games, were third in the form guide. They'd actually turned a bit of a corner. You thought like, all right, Leicester have finally sorted them. They look like they've sorted themselves out. I think they're one of those where the World Cup came at the absolute worst possible time. Unfortunately, sometimes momentum is a thing. That is the intangible you can't prove or disprove, but I think it is a thing.
I think the best thing that can happen to Leicester right now is the window shutting. And on February 3rd, whenever the window closes, Brendan locks him into a room and says, look, this is it. Look around you. This is what you've got between now and the end of the season to stay up. Are there 3 worse sides in the league at the moment than Leicester? I think they're in trouble.
Yeah.
The reason I think they're in trouble, I think Wolves are in a false position. I think Leeds will improve. Leeds are after spending some money.
West Ham might improve with the signing of Danny Ings.
Yeah, exactly. And you look around, I think Forest could do anything. You don't know. I think this is the one thing with the Premier League this season. 2 or 3 wins, the picture looks completely different. And that's just not for Leicester City. That's for any club up to third. The table is condensed because nobody's consistent.
But I think even up to first, I mean, Arsenal are a form team at the moment. They are. But 2 more wins for Arsenal, that's putting the pressure back on City. City are already going to start, at some point, going to start feeling the pressure because the gap's 7 points already. So we haven't had a league like this for a while where 2 points really has been like a big swinger.
Yeah. But I think you've got that this season with the league where any side you can put 4 win or say 4 points out of 6, go and look at the table again. Put 9 points out of 40 out of 15 up. In a 5-game run, you put up 9 points. You could go from 15th to 9th, and you relax again. The thing is, at the minute, I think if Leicester were able to do anything in the window, they'd have done it early.
I think so.
And I think they're stuck between a rock and a hard place at the minute.
I think they signed someone. I think they signed a defender. I think
Victor Christiansen from Copenhagen, but he's a 20-year-old kid. To be fair, as good as Copenhagen fans seem to be gutted to be losing him. They're raving about him, but we've been linked with every man and his dog this window because everyone knows we're desperate for new
anyone
signings.
With a pulse. We know that feeling.
We've got that as well. Yeah. I think you're probably like us thinking, we're not going to sign a wall. So
I think their biggest problem is players know their value. And they know their value in January, and they know what their value is in the summer. Yeah. And if you look at the saleable assets that are at Leicester, there's a few. Harvey Barnes being one.
Maddison.
Dewsbury Hall, another one. Maddison, definitely. Yuri Tillemans, yes, you could still get a fee for Yuri Tillemans. But if these players are at a stage where, look, I'm earning good money now, I'll see out this season and weigh up my options in the summer. That's the worst of all options for the club because you're stuck with players who don't want to be there and whose heart ain't in it. And Leicester need to evolve in the market. And by the looks of it, they need money in before they can do anything. I mean, it's scary that the fact that you've had to go and take a loan off for future TV revenue, that would scare the shit out of me.
Oh yeah. But the thing with Tielemans is it's one of the worst decisions, I think, and I have to I can't be too critical of our owners. I absolutely can't because of what they've done for us. But at the same time, that's the past. This is the present. Not selling Tielemans in the summer and letting him go for free is absolutely fucking suicidal for a club like Leicester, because letting a player of that quality go for nothing and literally his entire contract just having a massive loss on him is ridiculous. So I agree with that. We have to be better in the market, and we're not being, to be fair. But going back to your point about momentum, Kev, I'll read off our next 5 fixtures, and you can tell me how many points you think we're going to get, because I imagine we'll probably all get the same figure. We've got Brighton tomorrow. Then we've got Walsall in the cup, but ignore that. Villa away, who are resurgent. Spurs at home. United away. Arsenal at home. I can see 1 point out of those 5 if we're lucky.
Yeah, I would say a point at Villa.
Yeah. Or if Spurs, depending what Spurs turn up.
Yeah, that's what
we'll get a point at home to Spurs, maybe, depending on which one of them turn up. But Brighton tomorrow, I can only see it going one way. Villa at Villa Park, the way they're playing at the moment is going to be a tall order. Spurs, United, Arsenal back to back. It's going to be a long month, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah. To try and make you feel a bit better, Ocean saying, in his opinion, Bournemouth and Southampton are gone, and he thinks the last spot is between Everton, Forest, maybe West Ham, but the ink sign probably gets them clear of 18th.
I think
so. I suppose for yourself, they're probably the teams you're looking at. So I mean, the benefit for you this weekend is you've got Everton, West Ham. So one or both of them are going to lose points somewhere. So it's that sort of waiting game, which is a horrible feeling when you're waiting for other results.
But
whichever way around the table you are.
All of those clubs, though, unlike us at the moment, seem to have the minerals to make a change, though. Like Everton will sack Lampard and bring someone else in. West Ham will sack Moyes and bring someone else in if they have to. They've already showed by overnight going that Ings rumor came out of nowhere.
I think Everton might be in the same boat as you. I'm not sure they can. I might be wrong. Everton.
I don't know who Everton would get if they sacked Lampard anyway.
Probably
David Moyes. David Moyes do a swap.
Yeah, they might go and get Dyche, to be fair, but
yeah, I don't know if Everton can afford to sack Lampard. That might be the question. I don't know his buyout. I don't know what you have to pay to sack Lampard. But right, let's do score predictions and let's move on to something else because poor Jack, we've tortured him now for 25 minutes.
Hey, to be fair, I'm going tomorrow, so that 90 minutes of torture will be worse than this, I imagine.
Kev, give us a score prediction.
I'd stick with it. I think 4-0 Brighton.
Cheers, Kev.
Luke,
sorry, mate.
4-1 Brighton. Sorry,
at least we got a goal. I was going to say 3-1 Brighton. To be fair.
Okay, I had 2-0 Brighton.
Yeah.
Okay. Right, let's do some quick fire ones, and then we'll start another game. So, Bournemouth versus Forest. Just a score, Kev.
1-1.
I had 1-1 as well. Luke.
2-0 Forest.
Jack.
I was going to go 1-0 smash and grab Forest.
Okay, I'll stick with you, Jack. Southampton at home to Villa.
2-1 Villa.
2-1 Villa. Luke.
2-0 Villa.
I've got 2-0 Villa. Kev.
2-0 Villa.
Okay, and last one. Leeds, Kev at home to Brentford.
Brentford 3-1.
3-1. Luke.
Brentford 3-2. I reckon it's going to be a barnstormer.
Yeah, it'd be a great game.
Jack.
Similar vibe to you, Luke, but I'm going to score draw 2-2.
I've got 2-2 as well. Cool. Laszlo, I know you haven't missed the Liverpool game yet. We'll do that later. It's a Liverpool podcast. We'll do the Liverpool game last. That's how it works. We're doing the show for long enough. So listen, guys, we are sponsored by bookmakers.com. So details in the description below. They do help you find bets. Kev has been trying to explain the bets to me, which I've given Kev the bets to read them out because he explained it to me 3 times and I went, and I didn't get any of them. So he's got to explain the bets.
Give me 1 second there now and I will tell you exactly
if you're not into betting, though, it's not for you. That's fine. But I will still check out their website. Me and Kev use it for fantasy football. It's quite handy for team predicted lineups, form guides, and Gav does an appearance on their YouTube channel with him with a couple of fans talking about what's going on. Go on.
For tomorrow, the best prices you can get for a Leicester home win is with Bet365 is a 13-5. Betway have a 13-5 for the draw. William Hill are offering 21-10 for an away win, which I think is a really good price.
20-20, isn't it?
21-20, yeah. It's just a shade over even money. So I think that's actually a cracking bet, to be fair.
To be fair, Gav, you could have said any of those numbers and I'd nodded.
Same,
yeah. No, that's a cracking bet, to be fair. And
not clever
do so responsibly and all that.
I'm not clever enough to know all that. Right, let's move on to our next game then. Palace, who got a brilliant equaliser against United, against Newcastle, who are the third most informed side for the last 6 games. 4 wins, 2 draws. Palace on a run of 1 win, 1 draw, and 4 losses. The concern for Newcastle is the Gramera's injury, Kev.
Yeah,
it looked horrible.
It looked horrible.
I don't think ankles are supposed to bend that way.
No, funny enough, they don't.
It's a shame for him because he's a really good player. He's a nice player.
There he is. I mean, it'd be interesting to see what to do with Newcastle because look, Chris Wood going. He's already flagged that he's going to bring someone in, and it's not going to be someone of the stature of a Chris Wood. So they're going to bring in a forward who's a proper 9, and I think they will do that break glass thing that Newcastle has threatened to do for a while, that we all feared that Newcastle might do. I think they could break the glass next week on a forward, and
use your money up.
Really, I don't know, but I wouldn't be a bit surprised if someone like Vlahovic gets linked.
Jeez, I don't think.
I mean, let's be honest. They've got I mean, Isak's already back. I mean, Isak's a fantastically talented young player. And listen, Callum Wilson, when he's fit, he's consistent as a goal scorer. Callum Wilson is just knee problems for him, unfortunately.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is about tomorrow. Look, I mean, I'll just skip through it a sec. As long as they can handle missing Bruno Guimaraes, they will be fine. Palace, is Palace at home or away?
Palace are at home.
Palace are at home. Notoriously difficult ground to go to. Always has been. Always will be. Newcastle's record in London is 2 wins and a draw this season. They don't normally travel to London well, but they seem to have got that on, back to where it should be for a club that's looking to get in the Champions League. At the same time, you never know with Palace. There was flashes in that United game that they looked like getting back to the Palace at the early part of the season. And I look at Newcastle, and they've been stuttering a bit for the last few weeks. So I think this will be a score draw. I think 1-1. I was so impressed with Michael Olise's goal and their comeback in the week. I just hope they have enough in the tank to do it again. That's the only worry for me with Crystal Palace, is have they got enough in the tank to go again, because Newcastle will pile on pressure, and unlike Manchester United, they won't really drop off too much. So I'll stick with what I said. I'll stick with the score 1-1, but it'll be a good game.
Okay. Luke, how are you seeing this game then?
God, Kev nicked my score. I was going to go 1-1.
Isn't it mine as well? He's like that.
I've got a feeling that Newcastle are really going to feel the benefit of not having Bruno Guimaraes in their midfield, because he's been one of the signings of the last 12 months. And I do think, I don't know who's going to play the holding role, if John Joe Shelby is even fit or not.
He's out.
Sean Longstaff holding in midfield. And I think this is going to be the game where they're going to really struggle. And that's where you'll see Newcastle go and get another holding midfielder. I think I saw that they were linked to Man Utd from Gladbach. So it would not be surprising that if they struggle this game, you'll see them buy another midfielder in January. And I do think they'll get a forward. I've got a feeling that it won't be a big name forward like you think, Chris, in Vlahovic. I think it will either be...
I did say Vlahovic.
Oh, Kev said Vlahovic, but I got a feeling it'll be either Marcus Thuram from Gladbach. Then I saw a thing about Yusuf Moukoko from Dortmund, so it'll be either one of them, I think.
RCL says Aubameyang on up. I don't think he can, because he's already played for Barca, and
he can only go back to Barca. Back to Barca, and I think he will, because Depay has just gone to Atletico for £3 million.
When apparently his market value, according to some sources, is 20 to 25 million. Good business, that, isn't it? When you can do it.
Yeah.
So
yeah, but no, I think it's gonna be 1-1.
1-1. Jack, how are you seeing this one then? Because I know they've been out of form as well. Palace are fun to watch.
Yeah, I mean, I think that particularly like over the last few months, like I think Patrick Vieira has done an incredible job at Palace, given the circumstances. When Hodgson left, the squad was kind of in tatters. A lot of people even said they could potentially go down without Hodgson, because a lot of those sort of experienced, big, sort of characterful players that they had were out of contract. They let a lot of them go, and they brought in quite a lot of young, exciting talent, and it's really benefited them. To be fair, they play quite a good, when they're on form, they play quite a good brand of football to watch, actually, and they've got such exciting players in those forward areas that even when they lose, they can never say they're really out of games, because they always bring a threat. Like they used to just have Zaha, and then back a few years ago when they had Balassi, now they've got a front line that's full of really good quality. So I think on their day they can hurt anyone. They showed that with Elise's free kick. They kind of looked dead and buried in that game, and he's pulled that out the bag. They can hurt anyone on their day. But I think this Newcastle team have not been at their best recently, but yet they've still been grinding out results. That Arsenal game, really, they were backs against the wall, and that's what teams need to do, is not lose games. Against Fulham, they nicked it really late on, and that's the sort of thing that good sides do. They manage to stay in games and nick results. And I think Bruno being out is a huge miss. I mean, we said he's one of the best signings of the last 12 months. I think he's one of the best players in the league. I think he's easily top 15 players in the league on form at the moment, comfortably, probably even top 10. So him not being there's a miss, but I have seen that, like Euan was saying, that there's photos of him traveling with the squad, whether that's just as moral support or whether he's actually in the matchday squad it remains to be seen. Because like you said, it looked like a very nasty injury. So yeah, him being out changes the complexion of their team entirely. But this Palace team is on their day a very, very good, exciting team to watch. So hopefully it's a good game. Hopefully it's a really good game for the neutral. So
what score are you going?
I think it'll be another one of those where Newcastle dig deep and they get a result. But I can see both teams scoring. I'll go 2-1 Newcastle. I'll go 2-1 Newcastle on the road.
Okay. I'll go 2-2 because I did have 1-1, but you guys have stolen it, so I can't all three of us.
I'll go 2-1 Palace because I just want to be different. I'm going to go 2-1 Palace.
Well, let me just grab the odds there 1 second.
Go on. You can explain the odds.
Yeah. Well, bookmakers.com. The best price available for a Palace win is with Bet Victor at 17-5. William Hill have got 5-2 to draw, and the best price for Newcastle is 4-5, 5-4 on, which is 4-5 for Betway for an away win. So, I mean, the bookies have pretty much all decided that Palace ain't getting nothing out of this. That it looks like they're coming down the lines of a comfortable enough away win. I just look at Palace, I think, with the pace they have going forward and the one-on-one skill that they have going forward, they'll be okay as long as they can keep it tight at the back. It'll be a good game. I mean, I think it's the late kickoff tomorrow, isn't it?
I think it is,
yeah. So it'll be worth the watch for sure.
Oh, someone saying in the embargo section, there's talk of a new deal for Milner. Oh, right, okay. What I will say is,
I'm not surprised by it, by the way.
Yeah, what I would say is, I'll watch the actual video because we've seen several times, Kev. We've seen like part of the sentence used, and when you hear the full sentence, it's not quite as it's phrased. But just give you an idea. Someone said he's incredibly valuable to us. I know it's not because I'm too loyal. That's a fact. But then it also says Millie wants to carry on playing, but we have a plan. So I don't know what the plan is.
Oh, we'll find out in the summer.
That's the only
could be a player coach. It could be doing what Jack, what we're doing with Spearing, or is it Liverpool extend it and put them on low, just send them out or low?
No.
And when you come back as a coach. I can see why they want to keep him for a coaching role, which would make sense.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if there's 2 extensions offered to players who are out of contract in the summer, and he would be one. Pure and simply, I think it'll be more along the lines of a pay-as-you-play type of role. And at the end of the day, if we do our summer business properly,
he's not playing.
He ain't going to be playing. But that's up to the club. I mean, at the end of the day, people turn around. You trust the manager? Well, trust the manager. Yeah. It's like an awful lot of phrases around Liverpool. You know, you'll never walk alone up until I decided I want a new signing. Or I trust Jurgen Klopp to make the right decisions. Well, trust him then. You know what I mean? Don't try second guessing him. He says there's a plan. There's a plan.
Yeah, we'll see. Right, let's talk about the 2 most informed sides in the league. Arsenal versus Man United. Both teams, 5 wins, 1 draw. Both got the same goal difference. I think they both scored the same number of goals. These cannot be separated by very much. So, Arsenal at home, no Jesus, no El Neni. And for United, though, they've got a few out. They've got no Van der Beek, no Dalot. Obviously, Greenwood still suspended. Casemiro is suspended after his playing the ball tackle, according to the manager.
Ball?
I mean,
which ball?
I thought it was left or right. Left or right. I mean, it's a sister's tackle around the knees. I'm surprised he didn't get a red, to be honest. And then there was a doubt around Martial and Sancho. I'll be honest, I don't know.
He's back training apparently.
He's back training, but I don't.
He ain't going to be. He ain't going to be anywhere near the first team.
But so you, Jack. This should be an exciting game. This Arsenal obviously want to keep the pressure on City because they've got themselves a nice cushion. But if United have any sort of eyes on spoiling the party, trying to get themselves in the title race or consolidating top 4, they probably need something out of this game, really.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I mean, it's kind of nostalgic seeing Arsenal and United kind of battling out near the top of the league, being the 2 best sides in the league. To be fair, like it's kind of refreshing. I was saying depressing. This maybe for you, but yeah, it's nice to see like there seemed, and I don't mean this disrespectfully because Liverpool and City over the last few years have been 2 of the best sides the Premier League seen, but it is refreshing to see other sides in the title race, especially when you're somebody who, minus the 1 season, is always out of the title race. Like it's nice to just have that little bit of competition again at the top, and not in a disrespectful way to you lot because you're phenomenal. You've been phenomenal. Right. It's just this Arsenal team is really really good. Like it's a really good side that Arteta's built, and I think it took balls for Arsenal to keep the faith with him, because actually they had any number of opportunities to sack him, and other clubs would have done, and they're reaping the rewards for that. He's clearly building a culture there that a lot of the players are responding to, and he's made some incredibly good signings. Like Jesus and Zinchenko were surplus to requirements at City, and now they're like incredibly influential in this Arsenal team. And United, again, similarly to what Arsenal did with Arteta, they seem to have given Ten Hag full control over the running of the club, which they haven't done to anyone else really. And it's paying dividends for them. They both look in incredible form, and it should be, as you say, Chris, a really, really good game. But then now I've said that, it'll be 0-0 and it'll be a ball draw.
It'll be the worst game you've ever seen in your life now.
Yeah.
Kev, what fake praise, but this is something you haven't said for United. They look like they're playing to a plan. They actually look, when you look at United, you're thinking there's a plan for what he's doing with the players he's got, which I would probably say 3 or 4 years before, it was so scattergun. You were just like, I generally don't know who's playing where, what they're doing. You know, it felt so easy to pick holes in it. They've signed the right players, and Casemiro, Eriksen's been excellent for them. I can understand why his fans are still a bit unhappy with the ownership because of, look, they've ended up having to go and get Weghorst, who's a decent enough centre forward, but that's clearly not the player that.
They're still doing protests about the owners, or was that stop now?
Yeah, they're winning now, aren't they? So
they still happen, but.
Well, there's no Norwich. I didn't see too many Norwich scarves on display over the last few weeks. Casemiro is a huge miss. He's got to be an absolute. I mean, he should be suspended for 3 games. That was a horrific tackle, and it just goes to highlight again the standard of refereeing in the Premier League is atrocious. But
it's more the technology official VAR.
How
Yeah, he's got 3 views. He's got 3 views, but he should be able to see it's a bad tackle.
Yeah, but that's by the by. I mean, the thing is, they're both really good sides playing good football. I can see United sitting in playing on the break, and see Arsenal trying to dominate the ball and succeeding and looking to cut Manchester United open and create chances. It'll be very similar to the last game. And I think there's goals in both sides. United are good if you give them the ball and you allow them to be good, but they still revert to type. You know, they still look to play on the counter-attack when all else fails. They're very good at it, don't get me wrong. But when you have Casemiro on the 6, that gives you so many different options. When you don't, that really does, it really can expose the back 4 to things that they normally don't have to face. And above all games, for him to get suspended away at Arsenal is not the one you want to be suspended for.
Especially when he looked like he was just about to be taken off as well.
Look, whatever faint hopes they had of getting into a title race ended for me at Palace. They're not in a position where they can afford to drop any points. You know, they really had to go on a long run between now and the end of the season. And I think dropping 2 points against Palace and potentially 3 against Arsenal ends them. They'll be top 4, and as long as they can stay motivated to stay in the top 4 and do well, I think they're in the are they in the Europa League or the Conference?
Europa League, got Barcelona.
Europa League. If they can get through Barcelona, then they have a good chance at winning that. And if they win that, they qualify for the Champions League as a right anyway. And Ten Hag will want to end the season with silverware.
I think they'll win the Carabao Cup.
It wouldn't surprise me. The thing is, Rashford is in good form. But you look at Arsenal, there's so many threats from different areas. Even Martinelli's been off the boil, and he still looks a proper player. You know, I just think Arsenal have too much for him on the day. I think 3-2. I see goals in it for both sides. I think Arsenal know that comeback from Man City last night signaled they're not going to go away. As much as they were atrocious in their first half, they had a rocket up them in the second half, and they tore Tottenham to shreds.
Did you see Pep's post-match?
Yeah, I did. And he was right in everything that he said. And the thing is, they're not going to go away. And if Arsenal want to know what it feels like to be in a title race, that's
Here
how
it
felt.
is.
That's how it felt like.
Yeah, and it's
just when you thought Man City are going to go away, they don't.
And it's
And
relentless like this now until every game.
Yeah.
If you go on the right side of the screen, it's fucking tiring, mate, isn't it? That's
It is exhausting. But yeah, I've got it down as a 3-2. A 3-2 to Arsenal. It'll be great. It'll probably be the best game of the weekend. Technically, tactically, it'll be right up there. And yeah, it's going to be a cracker. Really looking forward to watching it.
Luke, so Kev's now jinxed this so much now. It's going to be the most dire nil you've ever seen in your life. That Sky turned it off with 10 minutes to go. Going, lads, don't worry about it. We'll text you when it's finished. What score are you going?
I don't know the same as Kev again. I think I'll go with Desmond 2-2.
Oh, so you're nicking my score instead.
Yeah, probably, yeah. Yeah, I think I'll go 2-2. I think I saw some things that Eric with something in United training that there was pictures of Lisandro Martinez playing in like in the six.
He's
Would that be
if
that happens?
He's played there
for
before,
Martinez to be stuck on Odegaard just to walk around and just follow him around the whole game. Because I reckon that if United to get anything out of the game, they're going to have to keep him quiet as possible. Just like what they did to Kevin De Bruyne at Old Trafford. Just have someone on him. Just keep an eye on him like Herrera did to Hazard. Just follow him around the pitch. Make sure, get tight to him. Yeah, both teams are doing really, really, really well. I think with United, I don't think that they were ever going to be in the title race. So I found I did see it a bit hilarious when some United fans online were saying, "Oh, we're in a title race," and then they draw to Palace.
The only argument I'd come back to that, right, and I'll just quickly say this: there were Arsenal on 47, right? If United beat Palace, they'd have been on 41, and having to play Arsenal twice. So they were in with a shot of taking 6 points off Arsenal, which would have put them level. So, they were in with a sneak. More than that.
I think that's why the City wins. The City wins a bit of a
the City win sort of like
if you look at Arsenal, you're going
United fans.
Yeah, because if you're Arsenal, you're going, I'm 7 points clear, which is great. Look, you'd rather be 7 points clear than 7 points behind. But you've got to play City twice. You've got to play United twice. None of them four are gimmies. You see Arsenal could lose all four of them. There's no disgrace in losing all four of them because they're difficult games. And all of a sudden you're going, oh, hang on, that lead's eroded really, really quickly. So this is big for Arsenal as well. It's a must not lose for Arsenal, I would say.
Yeah, sorry, Nay, what Chris was saying is right. I was wrong. They don't have to play Arsenal twice, but Arsenal had to play Man City twice, I think.
Twice, yeah. They've got to play 3 times.
So there was potential for them to drop a savage amount of points. And it just so happens that the way they dropped the 2 points at Palace, this could be the final nail in the coffin for them. Arsenal have to win. It's as simple as that.
I don't think it's a must not lose. I think it's a must win.
Yeah,
for Arsenal,
any drop points, and you're just inviting City ever closer.
Mad, isn't it mad? Like a few years ago, a draw against United was all right. Now it's like fucking hell.
Now it's like no.
You can't draw against. There's no need for this. It's not allowed.
But hey, good luck, Arsenal fans, because it's stressful from here on out.
Yeah,
You're thinking that City's lost, and then you'll say,
I can personally having experienced both. I much prefer the stress of the title race than the chase for the top four. Top four chases are shit.
It's usually you get it if you're not so shit.
Consistent.
Yeah, that's what it just shows you're inconsistent, which is Liverpool's with this year. So let's do a couple of quick fire ones. Jack, Fulham Monday night at home to Spurs.
I really like Fulham. I think they're really good this year. So I'd go, and Spurs are hit and miss. So depends which Spurs turn up. I'll go score draw 1-1.
1-0. Luke?
2-1 Fulham. I've really liked Fulham. I think Marcus Silva's done a great job considering how poorly he done at Everton. I think Fulham was the right club for him. He's been backed. 2-1 Fulham.
Kev?
Yeah, I think I'd have gone to say 2-1 Fulham. As long as Mitrovic is back, I back Fulham to get a win. But if he's not back, score draw 1-1.
Okay, I've got 2-2. Right, so before we talk about the last two games, don't forget everyone, our charity drive. Details in the description below. So our charity work we're doing this year is raising money for breast cancer. So there's 11 amazing women who are going
12
to
now. 12.
Was Gav doing it?
No, they've
I thought Gav said he was 12 man before.
No,
so
there is 12 women now doing it.
even better now. So there's 12 women who are going to run the Dublin Marathon, which just sounds horrendous because I couldn't think of anything more painful than running a marathon. So fair play, because not many people could be able to do it. So we're trying to get to 20,000 for them. So I think we've started now. I think we're at 1,400. Kieran Thorne has already donated £300. I believe he's going to donate the rest soon. So, we've already got big donations. So listen, details are in the description below. We know times are hard. We've done these sort of things before. So if you can donate. As Kev always says, 5s and 10s will get you there. If you can't donate, just share it. WhatsApp groups, whatever you want. If you want posters to put up somewhere for the links, message us. We'll get them sent over to you. So whatever you can, because look, let's be honest, cancer's horrible. It's an absolute bastard. So anything you can do to raise money for this is got to help, because unfortunately it's just a horrible disease that touches far, far too many families, and unfortunately it will touch everybody's family at some point. It's just one of those nasty things. So if you can give to that'd be great. Right. So to also put us on a happy note before we talk about Liverpool, West Ham Everton. I know it's a quick fire, but we can have a laugh. We can have a laugh for 5 minutes, Kev. West Ham versus Everton. This is literally whoever loses getting the sack in it.
Yeah, it is. It's. I think Moyes looked. I watched a bit of Moyes' press conference that was on Sky today, and he's almost resigned to it. I think the signings that they brought in the summer haven't worked out. They spent savage money. They spent huge money in the summer for a club like West Ham. They spent huge, bringing in the likes of Paqueta, Scamacca, and all of these players. It hasn't worked, and it doesn't look like working. They look brittle. They look like the legs have gone from under them. And I would say they have enough to get out of it. I think those players need a fresh voice. They need to hear something different, someone different, because
is that why
it's just too much.
Is that bit where the Danny Ings signing's a bit smart, because he gives you goals, and
as long as Danny Ings stays healthy, he'll get you goals.
I think I get the impression from everyone who's ever had them at their club, he's a good character around the club. He as much as you can have a laugh and joke, I think he pulls the standard up as well. So I sort of feel maybe that's the freshness they needed up front. Just someone.
I think it was telling as well. I think it was telling as well with Lampard when he was in his press conference talking about Danny Ings. I honestly believe Everton were in for him, and he probably, hopefully, I'd like to think it was because of the fact that he'd played for us, but I doubt it. I just honestly think he looks at it and thought, I can go back to playing in Liverpool, or I can go and live in London for however long, and play
in Europe as well, because West Ham.
Yeah, it's the Europe football. It's the fact that you're playing in a hell of a stadium. You're playing to full houses every week, and you're playing in London. You go and live in London for 6 months.
Actually, that's correct. Ings does love the claret and blue kit.
He does look good in the claret and blue. Fair play to Danny.
He does like claret and blue.
But they have to sort this out. I mean, the thing is, there's too many good players in that squad, in that side, not performing. Now, either they're sick and tired of hearing what the manager's saying, which is highly possible, or they're just not physically able to do what they want to do, which is even more of a problem, because then it's not a case of changing the manager and turning the fortunes around.
Are they suffering from the same thing that some people said about Liverpool, Chelsea, City to an extent, is the amount of games they had to cover last season? Because West Ham went deep into the Europa Conference. Yeah. Is that just caught up with it? And again, was it?
I think it's a combination of a lot of things.
Not letting Rice go in the summer.
I think the difference between us and West Ham is the fact that West Ham really did invest in the summer. We really didn't. And the players that they brought in weren't really squad options. West Ham brought in players to replace their starting players and relegate their starting players to be squad options. Maybe that didn't go down well in the dressing room. It could be a combination of a lot of things, but ultimately this is, as someone said in the chat earlier, huge 6-pointer. I got it down as I think West Ham get a win. I think it'll be a scuttery 1-0. But I think it'll be the nail in Fat Frank's coffin, to be honest.
I've got 2-0 Danny Ings double. Jack, what have you got?
Well, if I'm being selfish and thinking about our situation, a draw would be nice. But I think West Ham might win because I think that the kind of emotion around the day with the whole David Gold situation might, obviously him passing away recently, I think that might be something that just sort of pulls them over the line. But West Ham have got a better team. I'd probably go West Ham 1-0 as well.
Luke?
0-0. It's going to be so boring.
So
boring. Plus, it's Lampard in the job because I really want to take Everton down. And I think Everton got a strong chance of going down this season because they are horrible to watch.
Archie said 1-1. Archie says 1-1. No one's getting sacked, Chris. Or 1-1. They both go. Could be either. You can argue that one as well. Did we do City Wolves? I feel like I don't think City Wolves. We always forget about them. I've got 2-1 City just to get out of the way. Kev?
Yeah, I think City will beat them, but I think the amount of games Wolves have played in the last few weeks, I think it's got to catch up with them. They put an awful lot into that game, that League Cup game. They really did. They emptied the tank on that. I think City could expose them 4 or 5.
Great. Jack?
I reckon City, probably tough game for an hour, and then City's quality and depth just edges it at the end, 2-0.
Okay. Luke?
3-0. Wolves look toothless up front, and they've just let Guedes gone back to Benfica on loan. So, as if they're not looking, they can't score goals and they're letting attackers go. So,
it's a good tactic, isn't it? As Red Steve said about the Everton game, last match of a day guaranteed. Christmas. I mean, Kev, what's match of a day?
Mate, I'm just hoping I'll be able to watch match of the day. I'll take watching match of the day tomorrow as a sign. That would be a sign.
I've watched match of the day since we beat Villa.
I've watched match of the day 8 times this season.
I've not watched it at all.
We've had 8 wins this season in the league.
Well, listen, match of the day when it's live, that was quite entertaining. But we'll move on
for various reasons. We are definitely not going into those reasons here tonight.
If you want to know what it is, just go to YouTube. I'm sure you'll be able to find the reason.
I'm sure the whole chat knows exactly what you're talking about.
Sure right, so Liverpool versus Chelsea. Liverpool 8th in the form guide for the last 6 games, although they're on the same form as Brighton, just goal difference. And Chelsea 11th in the form guide, 2 wins, 1 draw, 3 losses in the last 6. So we're talking about proper mid-table fun, this, isn't it? We thought these days are gone. So
mid-table mediocrity for both.
It does feel that. But again, this is both sides need the win, Kev. Both sides can't afford to lose. Liverpool have got a few. Obviously, still got no Jota, no Diaz, no Van Dijk, no Arthur Melo. Yes, he's still a thing.
No Bobby.
Well, yeah, we don't know. Yeah, we should know Bobby because he's not been mentioned, so he will still be out. So Nunes is probably back, which is again a pace option which we need. Chelsea have got 10 out at the moment, and then there's, but Kante, of course, who's
Kante's I'm already expecting him to be in the starting lineup, ready to rock and roll.
Listen, Jack loves. I'm sure Jack loves Kante, but as a Liverpool fan, it's so annoying. He can be injured all year. He comes back for 2 games, and he's brilliant every time. And that's why we dislike him, because he's so good. He's such a good player. And Reece James is training, Kev, so whether that means he's going to be in the squad tomorrow, I would doubt it. But it's positive that he's training, because they don't look the same side without him. So I've had a quick bit of look on bookmakers.com, just trying to see what they think the starting level is going to be. So this is what they think we're going to see for Chelsea. Kepa in goal, Corella and Shalabah at fullbacks, Thiago Silva and Benoit the new signing, so that's the back 4. Then it's probably looking at Gallagher, Mount, and then it's probably now is Kovacic fit, because the question about his fitness. So it should be him, and then you would assume it'd be Havertz, Ziyech, and one more, I would assume, because I think Pulisic is out, Sterling is out, Felix is out because he did a horrific tackle.
Mudryk will start.
Mudryk
will start. Yeah, Mudryk will probably start, but he'll probably only get an hour. The thing is, I watched Chelsea I think they beat Palace last time out. It was 1-0, and they looked like they threatened to be good at times, and it was like watching us in a lot of ways. It was the last ball. It was poor decision in the final third. It was opening the door when it shouldn't have been opened, and car crash defending to block out shots. Kepa made some outstanding saves in that game. But the one thing that you can look at both sides is they're consistently inconsistent. So are we.
It's a skill that.
Our home form has bailed us out of being in absolute dire straits.
I think we've only dropped points in 3 games at home, which is similar to I think only Arsenal and City are better, and Newcastle are up there. But our away form is 2 away wins in the league all season.
Diabolical.
That's where the problem is.
You'll know tomorrow when you see the team sheets. You'll know how the game is going to go. You'll know what type of game it's going to be when you see the team sheets. And looking at Klopp's press conference today, he was asked a question about Stefan Bajcetic, and it was
step to his mate.
Do you think he's ready for the step up? And Klopp's reply was like, well, he was injured for 2 games, and then we used him when he was first available, which to me is literally he's an option.
He's been in probably 70% of the matchday squads. He's there most of it, in and around the squad. And let's be fair, we brought him on. I know we won 3-1 at Villa, but we brought him on at 2-1. We didn't bring him on at the easy time. He was brought on to see the game out. Which to be fair to young player, that's showing a bit of confidence in a young player. Go again.
I think Klopp sees him as a viable midfield option, and if he's fit and ready, he'll play him. But my worry is the way he came off against Wolves and the type of football that we played against Wolves, that 4-1 for that second half where we parked the bus and just said to Wolves, break us down. That ate him. That absolutely ate his legs. And he come off on 70 minutes with cramp. And look, he'll have a couple of days to recover. If he gets a start tomorrow, it wouldn't surprise me in the slightest. Genuinely wouldn't. On form, he should start. He's playing well enough. And I wouldn't be opposed to putting him in against anyone, So if he starts, fine. But I look around the rest of the pitch. I looked at the Wolves. I watched the Wolves game back because on the night it was just I was absolutely made up with. It was relief, but I was made up with the performance, right? But then I watched it back for the first 45 minutes. The interplay and the passing was good, but for the second half, we created virtually nothing. We never threatened Wolves going the other way in that second half entirely. Chelsea are a much better side than Wolves, and
the second half definitely felt like
what you have, you hold.
Yeah, don't lose it. And it felt like the squad was set up for that, which was almost like hold it for an hour and then we throw on Doak, Salah. We throw on the pace then and go like, in the end, it flipped the other way. We got a goal ahead and they went, right, we'll throw the pace up front now and go. And basically, it was the ultimate game of chicken with Wolves, wasn't it? How much do you want to commit because we'll hit you on the break? Which is, it's not a bad tactic, but it's just we just don't do it very often because we're never going to be ahead, to be fair.
Yeah, look, I don't know what we're going to do. And I don't know how we're going to line up, which is weird. Having watched Liverpool for years, especially under Klopp for the last few years, you pretty much know what we're going to do. And when you know how he wants to play. I've no idea what he's talking about with this reset and how he wants to go, this back to basics stuff and look at who's available and what he wants to do. I don't know what he's going to do. Tomorrow's his 1000th game in charge as a manager. Yeah. So, for over a 23-year career. And if he lined up tomorrow with Stefan, Harvey, Carvalho starting, it wouldn't surprise me.
Well, according to Dominic King, there's some stuff going on saying Milner is really pushing to be in the starting 11, which I'm assuming, it's either going to be fullback, which means Trent's picking a knock, or he's decided that I want you to do an hour in midfield, which
I don't
know. I think you're asking for trouble with Milner when he's just come back from hamstring and go do back to back.
I mean, I don't think you're too far off of what you had up as a Chelsea lineup. Chelsea's riddled with injuries. You had to spend a fortune and brought in a rake of new players and what have you. But we've no idea how the hell they're going to line up. We've no idea how they're going to play. Potter, from the time he took over from Tommy Tuchel, has probably changed the lineup more times than anyone has ever changed the lineup in the history of football. And he's no further forward with how he wants Chelsea to look. So I don't know how the hell you prepare for a side like that. The only thing you could do is set up to be solid yourself and look to hit in the break and look to, when you have the ball, to manage possession. And
Jack, as the outsider looking in, obviously, we try not to, but it's hard not to be in your Liverpool bubble. Like everyone, you can't help being in your own club's bubble. Outside looking at it, how are you seeing both clubs and how things are going to go?
With Liverpool, I'll start with you guys. Obviously, comparing it to our situation, like, does it frustrate you, like, as a fan, saying we are crying out for a player in this position and that you never signed them? Like, we've been crying out for a right winger since Mahrez left, and we've never signed one that's any good, or we've only just signed them on loan. But for you guys, like, as an outsider, you are missing, like, since you lost Wijnaldum and since the energy's kind of gone from your, like, midfield, and the drop off with Fabinho, I don't know what's going on there, but like that is what you are missing from being a top team again. Because I think if Van Dijk has that protection, he doesn't look quite as vulnerable as he has at times this season. The forward line is still incredible, but like, does it frustrate you to be like, this is where we need to improve, and yet the club can't seem to identify that as well, or they can't bring in the right player?
Yeah, it does. I mean, listen, me and Kev said, like, I don't know how many more times you can say the same thing, because we also, I think nearly everyone with Trippers said we should have added a midfielder in the summer, but there was two reasons we didn't. Well, the financial question is always there, and it depends which part of social media you believe, which part of the side you believe. But at the moment, we actually don't have a space in the squad physically for the squad rules to do it. We would have done if we'd moved earlier, but we left it so late, and then we brought in Arthur Mello, who did a fabulous 13 minutes, I believe.
Sense.
Well, it did make sense. We needed another midfield.
No, I know. It made no sense to leave it so late in the window.
Yeah, that was the frustration. It was the frustration. It's a combination thing. Look, Klopp got it wrong. Recruitment got it wrong. The owners got it wrong. But again, I do wonder sometimes with Klopp, but also maybe the recruitment, they get overly fixated on a particular player, which was, we all know, Tchouameni. That's the lad they wanted. He chose Real Madrid. Because they were so fixed on him or that type, it was a bit like blinkers, like, well, we can't go for anyone else because it's not him. And you're a bit like,
sort of sat on the hands and knees and just waited.
Because I get you want an elite midfielder,
Bellingham, which was never going to happen.
I get Liverpool want an elite midfielder. We do want an elite midfielder, but we need 3 in the summer. So there must be a mid-range target that we had. I don't know why we never tried to pull the trigger on that a year earlier. Now listen, we don't
offered Nunes, and then there was a report saying that Linders was high on him, Klopp wasn't so high on him. And then I think there was obviously Ruben Neves as well that was linked. But like, Liverpool in the summer was odd because everything that everyone praised Liverpool of, knew what they wanted, got the business done early. The summer was the complete opposite. It, like, Tchouameni went to Real Madrid, and then we were like,
we'll wait another year.
We'll just wait, which made no sense. And I think Ox got injured. Like, when there was rumblings of him going, he got injured, which I thought was quite funny. Maybe he heard the rumblings and thought, right, the hamstring is going to go now, so I get to stay here for a bit longer. But
not sure you can feel the medical department with that, though. I think look, I can only speak for me. The frustration I have with Liverpool recently with more than midfield recruitment is we've probably stopped doing, I think, Kev, you call that the smart moves. We used to call Liverpool the smartest people in the room, where you'd find a Canate who had a release clause which was clearly below what he should have been worth. I find it very hard to believe Liverpool can't or wouldn't be able to find somebody who would add to the squad. Now, maybe they're not a starting 11 player, but there's someone who's your first sub, and you go, well, that's what to bring on, and that's going to put pressure on someone. That's the little bit I've always found a little bit frustrating, but
But the other side is it still doesn't. I never saw the drop off in Fabinho coming. Not to the level, and just the drop off with Fabinho and Henderson together, coupled with the injuries that happened with Naby not being available, Thiago missing six games. It's just been one after the other, where you couldn't settle on anything.
Yeah, Diaz doing his knee twice when he's in form.
Then you throw Diaz, Jota, Firmino, when he was having his best season for a good while, out, as well. And then to top off with the icing on the cherry on the cake, you lose Darwin for a couple of games as well, which means you sign Cody Gakpo. By the way, Cody, you're coming into a shithole.
Yeah.
Have fun, enjoy yourself.
And then, unfortunately, the ones who are getting the most stick at the moment is kids. Harvey Elliott's got dogs abuse. I think he can play in midfield for Liverpool, but I think he's got to play in a functioning midfield. At the moment, the two lads next to him aren't functioning, so I kind of knackers Harvey Elliott a little bit
on the wing. But that's me personally.
For all of the doom and gloom with me, I'm looking at it and think I still fancy us to beat Chelsea tomorrow. I still think we get a 2-1 win, but no game against Chelsea is ever easy.
No,
it's always hard. It's always hard,
no matter what form.
But you look at it, if Darwin's back and he starts, he's you hope that he comes back into the side, raring to go, and just blood up, and the crowd will be up for it. The away fans in the Wolves game were fantastic. You expect more of the same tomorrow for 12:30 against Chelsea. You expect Anfield to be absolutely bouncing, and I hope we can replicate parts of what we saw in the Wolves game tomorrow, and we get 3 points. We need to stop talking about the need to win games and just go and win games.
I think the pressure's actually on Chelsea tomorrow, though. I think when you're starting to splash all that cash and you're bringing in these, I don't know if Mudrik's an elite player or not because he's been playing in Ukraine. Like the price tag suggests that he should be, but like the fact that they're spending so much money and they're bringing in players, like they've already brought in the other Fofana from Molde, who wasn't that expensive, but then they brought in Badiashile, they brought in Mudryk now. Like there is pressure on them to perform. Like when you spend that money, you've got to hit the ground running. These aren't players that can be bedded in. And I think if you compare that to your situation, obviously you want to win, but actually the pressure's on Chelsea, I think, to perform. The fact that they've got to justify spending that sort of money in, like they've nearly spent 500 million in one season. Like
I think I've just seen something on Twitter saying that they are being investigated for trying to get around Premier League FFP rules by handing out 5+ year deals so regularly. So they're already being investigated.
But the question is,
they were unheard of before this, weren't they? Like those long-term deals like that.
But the question is there a rule that says you can't do that? Because if there isn't a rule, Chelsea would go, well, no one says I can't do it.
Yeah, you can't enforce it, can you?
It's can't enforce it.
Yeah.
This is why the 25-man squad came, because remember when Blackpool, he basically put on a weekend 11 against United, and he got fined for it, and he said, like, and I knew what the manager was doing. He's going, like, but I've got a game next week which I can win. I'm not going to beat, it's a best 11, I'm not going to beat United, so I'm going to swap my squad around. And again, it's one of those funny rules. At the end of the day, that's, if you can do it, you can do it. I mean, the question is, do I other clubs haven't tried it?
As far as I know, so far, it's £463 million Chelsea have spent in the last two transfer windows, and they're not finished in this transfer window yet.
That's more than under Klopp.
You look at the Deloitte figures, and that's more than what Chelsea's whole revenue is for the calendar year. And it's not like they have a huge ground that they can absorb this kind of hit with, because you look at it. Look, I mean, it's a whole show, and I'm sure that over the next week, when the window closes, we'll go through it a lot more. I just look at it and I think, how the hell are you supposed to compete with that? Even hands up, what are you supposed to do?
Even City at their peak
never did this.
We're doing this.
I might go on a bit of a philosophical rant here, so shut them up if we run out of time. But I just think football at the moment is unsustainable. I think that's what we're getting. We're getting to that point. Like the fact that every club in the Premier League, to an extent, has debt, and most businesses in the real world would be getting some sort of punishment or some sort of like winding up order or something for being the level of debt they are. Chelsea had their debt written off. And now, so that means that Todd Bowley's gone, that's okay, I can build up more debt because we just had all our debt written off in the takeover. So there's no worry about us going back into debt because we were there anyway. It got written off. Every club's in debt anyway. So what's the big issue?
Bubble.
Yeah, exactly. And it is unsustainable.
I I don't think
it has to. It has to at some point.
It has to, yeah.
Because people keep funding it by going buying merchandise, going to games and stuff like that. I think that's why the bubble has not yet burst, because fans are still going. But when it can't, until people can't afford it, the bubble's still going to be there. It's going to get bigger. People are going to restrain themselves even more to make sure that they can get the season tickets, the kits, go to games, and stuff like that. So until that happens, the bubble's still going to keep growing.
I'll just come back to one thing that I saw today. Sheffield United are under a transfer embargo now. And they're a club in the Championship with a decent turnover, with a decent amount of people who turn up every week, to watch them. They're under a transfer embargo for non-payment of historical transfer fees owed. So, it won't take long I've said this for a long time. A Premier League club will do a Bury, 100%. It's only a matter of who it's going to be.
Let's not talk about the things we've just borrowed from the bank, shall we? And then say that in the same podcast.
But you know what I mean? It's like,
look at Juve as well. Look at Juve.
Yeah. Look, but then you look at the flip side, the other end of the spectrum. Sorry, Kev. The other end of the spectrum, and you've got Scunthorpe have been issued a winding up order for a few £100,000. Berries was a few £100,000. Southend have been told they've been set a date to pay, and these are small figures. Like, it's literally like the annual wage of some of the Premier League players, let alone what a club's actually worth. Like, you can't have, I know it's 5 leagues apart, granted, but like you can't have clubs in £500 million worth of debt and you're like, oh, that's fine, they can carry on spending, but then be saying to other clubs, which are the lifeblood of some communities, then go, oh, no, you're done for a few £100,000. That can't be a sustainable way to manage.
Stanley made £3 profit off the FA Cup tie. £3 profit.
Yeah. But then that's another thing, though, that you put in crap games on TV. Like, I'm not being funny. All Premier League ties, unless it is like a Liverpool v City, I don't want to watch it. I don't want to watch Leeds v Villa in the FA Cup. I would rather watch a conference team play against a championship team, because that TV revenue that makes their season. I think it was one of the other teams. It might have been Boreham Wood last year. I think they got to the 4th round. That funded their whole transfer window and more as well. Like this summer, they look like they're going well again in the conference. Like, it's so good for them. But
no, I think it is. I think it's probably a show we can do. I think probably post transfer window. It's definitely something we get Jack back on. We perhaps have a bit more of a chat about
100%.
Where's football going? Because ultimately, Kev, look, we know our club's up for sale. I'm leaving it this way. At the moment, we're pretty much know now you've got to be bought by a country or bought by a multi-billionaire.
But look,
to be competitive, that's the way now.
The truth is, you've got to cheat to win. You've got to invent sponsors and hope they have a LinkedIn page and hope nobody goes to check. Or you've got to be state-owned. And the thing is, Liverpool, I can only speak for us, right? We're run sustainably, which means we spend what we earn, be it on wages or transfer fees, infrastructure, whatever. We spend what we earn. That's how a business, a household, a football club should be run. Any notion that a football club, or any sporting club, to be honest, but a football club, should be allowed to run on debt, on a credit card, on an endless credit card, makes a complete mockery of the league. It makes a mockery of everyone who pays £100 a month to Sky to watch their product.
Yeah, totally agree.
It just takes the mickey out of everyone. And the idea that you have people saying, well, spend X, Y, and Z to compete, no, you can't compete with cheats. Because if you turn around and say, FSG, put another 50 million quid in every transfer window, fine. Man City will go and put 150 million, and they'll just come up with another sponsor deal somewhere in the Middle East or somewhere in Asia, somewhere in America, and just pick out phantom figures out of the middle of fresh air and just plug another hole. Does anyone seriously think that Manchester City turn over more revenue than Real Madrid?
Nope.
Nobody in their right mind. The difference between the Man City figures and Liverpool figures is that we have to declare them. Man City have declared them and are very creative. But look, that's another show for another night. But look, I mean, tomorrow, anyone want to? I mean, hands on heart, I think we beat them 2-1. It'll be a hard fought 2-1. I don't know what kind of lineup we'll go with. I'd have gone with, say, Alisson.
Who's goal scorers? Who's goal scorers?
Well, I'll just go with the lineup first. I'll go Alisson, Trent, Gomez, Konate, Robertson. I think you'll start Fabinho, Thiago, and Naby. Salah, Nunes, and Gakpo on the left. But I think if he sees something that he doesn't like, or if it's not working, I think he'll change it quick. I think
Henderson.
I think Matip will start over Gomez. Though I do think Konate look more comfortable on the right. I still think he'll start with Matip. It wouldn't surprise me if he tries Harvey again in the front three and maybe moves Mo inside one. I think with Nunes, it's how fit he is. If he's fit enough to start him, because I think you want his pace on the left against the likes of whether it's Azpilicueta or Chalobah. Because Chalobah's he's a good young player. We saw that in the FA Cup final. But he's not, I think Nunes' pace will cause most people problems. But if not, Nunes is not a bad option to bring on for the bench for the last half hour. I've got 3-1 Liverpool. I've got Salah, Nunes, and Konate scoring. And I've got Havertz scoring for them because I think he always seems to score past us. I'm quite glad Pulisic isn't playing.
I'd go for Nunes for brace.
Nunes brace. Luke, what have you got? Score-wise?
I'm going 2-1. I'm going to go super scrappy. I think Chelsea's midfield is going to cause us a lot of problems because they've got energy, and Liverpool's midfield seems to be shot of any energy this season. I think I made a joke to a friend of mine. To beat Liverpool, you need to be half-decent athletes. Now you'll just run straight through us. Just like Leicester. Ironically, how Leicester scored their goal, we just parted like the Red Sea and let Dewsbury Hall have a free shot at goal. So I think Chelsea's midfield runners are going to cause us issues. But yeah, Chelsea, I don't know what they're going to do, to be honest. So I'm going to go 2-1. I'm going to go Elliott and Gakpo to score. Because I want to see Elliott again on the right wing. Because for me, that's what I feel like you get his best performances. Because I actually liked his performance against Wolves. I thought he was a lot more assured on the wing rather than being.
I liked his second half performance when they put him left mid. Because that's where he played for last half. I played him left mid. I thought he actually did quite well there. I actually looked more comfortable on the left. So maybe that's another thing for him to try. Jack as the neutral.
Will I get invited on it again if I say Chelsea 100%. Might win? Like if I say Chelsea win?
No, you won't. No.
Honestly, I think the like you say the lunchtime kickoff, like the Anfield atmosphere, the pressure will be on Chelsea because they've invested heavily and they're expected to hit the ground running. I think you will edge it. I think it will be a close game, but I would maybe say 1-0 to Liverpool. I couldn't say who's going to score. I'll go with Nunes because why not? I think you edge it, but close game.
This proves Jack's not been watching much of Liverpool. He said a clean sheet and the punters can see first. Don't worry, Jack. You're picking up. We don't do any of those things.
Someone's got to be positive. I've got enough negativity on my end. Someone's got to be positive, all right?
Just show Manica's WhatsApps if you want to see negativity. They're great.
Oh, yeah.
But listen, Jack, thanks for coming on. Where can people find you?
So we are currently on Twitter at the Ballacks Pod. We're on Instagram as well. And most of our content is on Spotify at the moment. We're looking at getting back onto YouTube soon. But yeah, find us on Spotify and on Twitter. Pleasure as always, guys. Thank you so much for having me on. Good to chat to you all again.
Awesome. Luke, we no doubt we'll see you next Friday.
Kev,
next Friday. Everyone will see your happy face, hopefully, on tomorrow. Well, hope it's happy. When hopefully Liverpool have beaten Chelsea. But until then, go on.
No, I was going to say I've got cans in the fridge just in case. So we're all good.
That's his UFC on Saturday as well.
Oh, yeah.
Luke's doing his UFC watch along. So if you want to go at 3 a.m. Sunday morning. Good
3 a.m. Sunday morning with me and Callum from Copper should do that together.
It's a good card, though. It is a good card.
Yeah, it's a good card.
You got Eubanks against Smith tomorrow night as well.
Ah, yeah. See, great weekend of sports. So that's what you want. So listen, guys, like, subscribe, hit the bell icon, and keep your eye because there'll be loads more shows coming up. Until then, catch you very soon.